Today I'm going to show you how to make a walking animation for your monster that's following players. In the original recording of this video, I was going to use Glam Rock Freddy here, but in doing that, I discovered that these things, the pivot points, they matter a whole lot when it comes to animations. And just in case you don't see pivot points when you select stuff, you're going to open your maker pen, go down to general settings, and it should be like the second one, show pivot point. So now you can see the pivot points showing up. So instead, we have this, let's call it a Roblox cube monster. How about that? It's really simple, but it'll get you to a point where you understand how to do walking animations and why the pivot points matter and all that stuff. So once you have your monster, then you need to kind of think about what on this monster is going to be moving during the walking animation. We're only going to have the arms and the legs moving. Once you figure out what you're going to have moving, you need to separate out all of those different things into their own object. So right now, when I highlight this, the whole thing gets highlighted, meaning it's one object. But if we go in our maker pen and we hit edit, then we're going to select the individual object. So I'm going to select this lower arm and I'm going to hit options and split shapes. And then I'm going to do this for every individual piece that we want to move. Do the same thing to the other side. Now we'll move to the feet and legs. Once you've got everything separated, just hit done editing. Now we need to kind of make sure our pivot points are in the right spot. For instance, when it comes to the arm here, you know, like when you rotate your arm, the joint is up in your shoulder. So we want the pivot point to be up here in his shoulder. The best way I know to do that is to hit edit and click on the thing you want to move the pivot point. And you can see here that the pivot point is all the way in the middle of the body. That's not going to work. You're going to hit select and you're going to select that part. Then you're going to hit options and you're going to hit center pivot on selection. I'm going to further edit this by hitting move, and let's just move that so that the pivot point is right there. Then hit done editing. Then we're going to move it back to where it was. Just want to make sure that that is in the right spot. You're going to do this for every moving bit of the monster. So we'll do it here for the arm. Next, let's move to the legs. Let's do the foot. And again, the foot joint would be the ankle. So we're going to put it in the position where the ankle would be. And now we're just going to do the other side the same way. So now that you've got all your pivot points set up to the right place, we've got to configure each individual object to allow modifying with circuits. So open your maker pen, hit configure, click on your first one, scroll all the way down and hit modify with circuits. So the things that are moving and the things that are not moving all need to have modify with circuits. If they don't, then it will not work. Once everything has modify with circuits on, now we can hook it up to our circuits. Now in my previous video, I showed how to make things follow you in Rec Room, and there's an invention for it called RCL_follow_V4. We're going to be using that today to hook up our monster. Once you get it in here, you want to go ahead and just activate the look at gizmo for a second. Once you have it kind of pointing, you want to hit move and you want to grab the cube. Don't grab this other stuff, just grab the cube and everything else will come with it. And you want to line up that vector gadget on the front with the face of your monster. As good as you can get. That should be okay for what we need. So now that we've got that kind of lined up, you want to wire every single object that we have here to the gold bit on the look at gizmo. Now originally I tried to select every part and wire them all to the look at gizmo, and even though that works, for some reason it tended to unhook other things. So because of that, I'm just going to do them all individually. Okay, and now because everything's attached to it, we can hit add roll again and it'll start moving toward us. Now we can start animating. So open your palette and get yourself an animation gizmo. And just place it anywhere. Because it's hooked up to this, it doesn't matter. You can just place it anywhere. Now, you want to wire all of those parts you picked out earlier that we're going to move. You want to wire all of them to the gold ring on the animation gizmo. So now you want to start animating it. Let's hit edit and let's click on the animation gizmo. Then you'll see this animation menu. By the way, they're coming out with an animation CV2 at some point, but I'm hoping that this menu pretty much stays the same. Because this is really basic animations, I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm just going to add 2 frames to it. Now, when you're doing the walking animation, you want to have the first frame and the last frame be exactly the same. So I'm going to start off by editing the middle frame. I'm guessing the way that I would want this to work, foot forward, arm forward, and then on the next frame have it the opposite foot forward and the opposite arm forward. First of all, let's move the arm. There is a setting here that you can do when you hit rotate. You can rotate it around the pivot or you can rotate it in place. So right now it's on rotate in place. You can rotate around the pivot. I mean, I tend to find, at least with the joints, it's better with the rotate around pivot, but rotate in place could work for you depending on what you want. All right, so I want it to be like that. And then let's move this piece up. So now if we go and we hit play, you'll see it's kind of got this animation going on here. We're gonna move this forward as well, but we're gonna put some tilt on it. All right, so now all we got to do is the other side. And the other side, again, we're gonna kind of make it do the opposite. So when it's back, this one's forward, when this one's forward, that one's back. Make sure when you're editing that you're on the first frame, and then once you get everything moved into position, you can select them all, hit copy, and then paste them on the last frame. So now that you've got all your animations done, you're gonna hit done editing up here, hit configure, and you're just gonna configure this 0 to a 1. Last thing to do is add the roll, get it to follow you. Look at that, it's chasing after you. All right, so I know what you're asking. You wanna know how to make the Poppy Playtime seated jump scare thing. Well, I'm working on it. It was originally gonna be part of this video, but we ran into some issues, so I'm working on it. But if you wanna know how we made the circuit to make the monster follow you, check this video out here. Use code RCL1 to support me here on Rec Room. RCLman out.